I need you to stop everything right now. Put down whatever is in your hands. Close the other tabs. Silence the notifications, because the next few minutes could be the difference between spending the rest of your life fighting your own legs just to get through a normal day, or walking into your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond with a kind of strength and steadiness that most people assume they have already lost forever. Here is something that no one is telling you directly enough, and it is costing millions of people their mobility, their independence, and in many tragic cases, their lives. Your legs are not getting weaker because you turned 45. Your legs are getting weaker because of what has been missing from your meals for years, possibly decades. And those are two completely different problems. One means there is nothing you can do. The other means there is everything you can do. And today, right now, I am giving you the everything. 7 specific foods, ranked from genuinely powerful to absolutely life-altering, that can rebuild the deteriorating muscle fibers in your thighs, restore the circulation your calves have been quietly losing, protect the joints in your knees and hips from the inside out, and give your legs back the kind of reliable, confident, pain-free strength that you may have already started to believe was gone for good. Now before we begin, I need you to sit with a number. A number that should be plastered on the wall of every physician's office, every physical therapy clinic, every kitchen and every home where someone over 45 lives. A landmark study published in The Lancet found that adults who experience measurable lower body muscle decline after the age of 50 have a 74% higher risk of losing functional independence within the following decade. Not 20%, not 40%, 74%. That means 3 out of 4 people whose legs start weakening in midlife, and who do nothing about it nutritionally will reach a point where they cannot reliably perform the basic physical tasks of daily living without assistance. Getting out of a chair, walking to the mailbox, climbing a single flight of stairs, standing in the shower without fear. That number is not a scare tactic. That is a clinical reality published in one of the most respected medical journals on the planet. And the reason I am sharing it with you is not to frighten you. It is to make absolutely certain you understand the stakes of what we are discussing here today. This is not about looking good in shorts. This is about whether or not you will still be able to live on your own terms 5, 10, 15 years from now. And I will tell you this right now. The number 1 food on this list, the one I am saving for the very end, is something that a significant portion of you have been deliberately avoiding. Something that was demonized for decades. Something that was stripped from the diets of millions of people based on nutritional advice that has since been dismantled, corrected, and in many cases publicly retracted by the very institutions that issued it. When I tell you what it is, you will not believe how long you have been depriving your legs of one of the most powerful rebuilding tools in existence. And you will want to add it back to your next meal immediately. But before we get there, I want to hear from you. Right now, drop a comment below this video. Tell me your age. Tell me what your legs have been putting you through. Maybe it is the stiffness that greets you every single morning like a punishment for simply sleeping. Maybe it is that deep, dull ache behind your knees that nobody can explain. Maybe your thighs burn going up a staircase that never used to bother you. Maybe you have started avoiding certain activities altogether, not because you do not want to do them, but because you no longer trust your legs to carry you through them. Whatever your experience is, write it down. I read every single comment on this channel. Every one. And your words might be the exact thing someone else scrolling through here at 2 in the morning needs to see to realize they are not alone, and that this does not have to be their future. Now let us begin. We are counting down from 7 to 1, from powerful to profoundly transformational. Coming in at number 7, and I need you to lean in for this one because it is going to surprise you how much science is hiding behind something this ordinary. Beets. Not beet supplements. Not beet powder in a capsule. Whole, actual, deeply pigmented beets. The kind your grandmother probably kept in her garden, and that most modern kitchens have completely forgotten about. Here is what is happening inside your legs after the age of 45 that almost nobody explains to you clearly. Your blood vessels, particularly the smaller arteries and capillaries that feed the dense muscle tissue of your thighs, calves, and the muscles surrounding your knees, are slowly losing their ability to dilate, to open wide, to deliver the volume of oxygenated, nutrient-rich blood that your muscles need to contract properly, recover from exertion, and clear out the metabolic waste products that build up with every step, every movement, every contraction. The molecule responsible for keeping those blood vessels open and responsive is called nitric oxide. And after the age of 40, your body's natural production of nitric oxide begins to decline at a rate that accelerates with every passing year. By the time you reach 60, some research suggests you may be producing as little as 25% of the nitric oxide you produced at 25. Your legs are not just losing muscle. They are losing their blood supply. They are being slowly, silently starved from the inside. And the result is exactly what millions of people describe but cannot explain. Heaviness, fatigue, aching, a feeling that your legs are older than the rest of you. Beets are one of the most concentrated natural sources of dietary nitrates on the planet. When you eat beets, Those nitrates are converted by specific bacteria on the surface of your tongue, through an astonishingly elegant biological process, into nitric oxide. You are literally eating your way back to vascular function that aging has stolen from you. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that adults over 50 who consumed dietary nitrates equivalent to approximately 200 grams of beets daily for just 6 days showed a 38% improvement in blood flow to working muscles during moderate physical activity. Not 5%, not 10%, 38%. The researchers noted that the effect was most pronounced in the lower extremities, the legs, the exact area where age-related blood flow decline hits hardest and earliest. But the benefits of beets extend beyond nitric oxide. Beets contain a compound called betaine, also known as trimethylglycine, which plays a critical role in reducing levels of homocysteine in the blood. Elevated homocysteine is strongly associated with vascular damage, chronic inflammation, and impaired muscle repair. Research from Tufts University linked high homocysteine levels in adults over 50 directly to accelerated loss of grip strength and lower body function. Betaine helps neutralize that threat at its biochemical source. A retired postal worker, 62 years old, came in describing legs that felt like they were wrapped in wet towels by the end of every day. He had been through vascular screenings. Everything came back technically normal, but his legs were telling a different story. We introduced a single medium beet daily, roasted and added to his lunch. Within 4 weeks, the heaviness had reduced to the point where he was walking an additional half-mile every evening. He told me the towels were gone. He could feel his legs again. For best results, eat 1 medium beet daily, roasted or steamed. Roasting concentrates the flavors and preserves the nitrate content beautifully. Pair your beets with a source of vitamin C, a squeeze of lemon, some orange segments alongside, because vitamin C accelerates the conversion of nitrates into nitric oxide. And here is a critical warning. Do not use antibacterial mouthwash before or immediately after eating your beets. Those mouthwashes kill the very bacteria on your tongue that are responsible for the nitrate to nitric oxide conversion. You would be destroying the mechanism before the food even has a chance to work. Moving to number 6, and this one should be sitting on your kitchen counter right now. If it is not, you need to fix that immediately. Bananas. I know, you are expecting something complicated, something rare, something with a name you cannot pronounce. But the humble banana is one of the most underestimated weapons in existence for protecting aging leg muscles from the kind of breakdown that leads to weakness, cramping, instability, and eventually falls. Let me explain what is happening at the cellular level inside your legs every single time they do anything at all. Every muscle contraction, every step you take, every time you shift your weight, push yourself out of a chair, or catch your balance on an uneven surface, depends on a precise electrochemical exchange between sodium and potassium ions across your muscle cell membranes. This is called the sodium-potassium pump, and it is the literal mechanism by which your nervous system communicates with your muscles. Without adequate potassium, this pump begins to malfunction. Signals are delayed. Contractions become weak and incomplete. Muscles fatigue faster, cramp more often, recover more slowly, and eventually begin to lose their ability to respond reliably at all. And here is the crisis that almost nobody in mainstream medicine is addressing with the urgency it demands. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition estimates that 97% of American adults do not consume the recommended daily intake of potassium. 97%. That is not a gap. That is a chasm. And for adults over 45, whose muscles are already dealing with a natural age-related decline in nerve conduction speed and motor unit recruitment, a potassium deficit is not a minor inconvenience. It is pouring gasoline on a fire that is already burning. 1 medium banana delivers approximately 422 milligrams of potassium. But what makes bananas uniquely valuable for aging leg muscles specifically is something that goes far beyond the potassium number. Bananas, particularly those that are slightly underripe, still showing some green on the peel, contain a form of carbohydrate called resistant starch. This starch does not behave like the refined carbohydrates that spike your blood sugar and trigger insulin cascades. Instead, it passes through your upper digestive tract intact and arrives in your large intestine where it becomes food for beneficial bacteria. Those bacteria then produce short-chain fatty acids, specifically butyrate, propionate, and acetate, compounds that reduce systemic inflammation in muscle tissue, improve the integrity of the gut lining, and enhance your body's ability to absorb the very minerals your legs are desperate for. A woman, 68 years old, from a small town in rural Pennsylvania, came in describing leg cramps so violent they were waking her 4 and 5 times every night. She had been living on muscle relaxants for over a year. They dulled the cramps slightly but left her so drowsy and unsteady during the day that she had already fallen twice. We were trading one danger for another. We added 2 bananas per day to her routine, one with breakfast, one mid-afternoon. Within 5 weeks, her nighttime cramping had dropped by over 80%. She called my office to tell me she had slept through the night for the first time in over 2 years. She was crying. She said she had forgotten what waking up without dread felt like. That was not magic. That was potassium finally reaching the sodium-potassium pump in sufficient quantities to do what it was always biologically designed to do. Eat 1 to 2 bananas daily. If you are managing blood sugar, choose slightly green bananas for their higher resistant starch and lower free sugar content. Pair them with a protein and fat source, a handful of walnuts, a spoonful of almond butter, to slow the glycemic response, and to deliver amino acids alongside the potassium so your muscles receive multiple repair signals simultaneously. Number 5 on our countdown, and this one carries some of the most compelling research I have encountered in years of studying musculoskeletal nutrition. Eggs. I know you have heard the egg debate. You have lived through it. For decades, you were told to fear the yolk, to eat the whites only, to scramble your eggs and then throw away the most nutritionally dense part as if it were poison. And I'm here to tell you, with the full weight of modern nutritional science behind me, that for adults over 45 who are trying to protect or rebuild the strength in their legs, this advice was not merely incomplete. It was destructive. Here is why. Eggs are one of nature's most concentrated sources of a specific amino acid called leucine. And leucine is not just another building block of protein. Leucine is the master switch for a process called muscle protein synthesis. Think of your muscles as a construction site. Protein provides the raw materials, the bricks, the lumber, the steel. But leucine is the foreman who arrives in the morning and tells the crew to start building. Without enough leucine at each meal, the materials just sit there. The construction crew stays home. Nothing gets built. Nothing gets repaired. And your muscles slowly, steadily fall apart. Now here's the part that almost no one explains to people over 45, and it is absolutely critical for understanding why your legs may not be responding to the protein you are already eating. After the age of approximately 50, your muscles develop a condition that researchers have formally named anabolic resistance. Your muscles become less sensitive to the normal signals that trigger repair and growth. They need a louder signal. A stronger push. Specifically, research from the University of Illinois found that older adults require approximately 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal to overcome this resistance and trigger meaningful muscle protein synthesis. Below that threshold, your body essentially treats the meal as if it contained no muscle-building protein at all. 2 large whole eggs provide approximately 1.6 grams of leucine. When you pair that with another leucine-rich food, and we will cover more of those later in this list, you cross that critical threshold, and your muscles finally receive the signal to rebuild. But the leucine is only half the story. The yolk, that golden center that an entire generation was trained to discard, contains vitamin D3 in its most naturally bioavailable form, the form your body actually recognizes and uses. It contains choline, which is absolutely essential for the neuromuscular junction, the microscopic point where your nerve endings communicate with your muscle fibers. Every time you take a step, every time you balance on one foot, every time your body makes a rapid adjustment to prevent a stumble, it is the neuromuscular junction doing that work. And choline keeps that junction healthy and functional. The yolk also contains phosphatidylcholine, which maintains the structural integrity of your muscle cell membranes. After 50, and especially after 60 and 70, those membranes become increasingly fragile and permeable. Nutrients leak out of the muscle cells instead of staying inside where they are needed. Waste products accumulate instead of being efficiently cleared. The muscles lose their internal architecture. They become soft, unreliable, prone to fatigue and injury. The phosphatidylcholine in egg yolks directly counteracts this membrane degradation. A retired engineer, 72 years old, came in after 14 years of eating exclusively egg whites on the advice of a previous physician. His legs had grown so weak that he had installed handrails on every wall of his hallway. He could not stand up from his living room couch without pulling himself up by the armrest with both hands. We brought the whole egg back into his life. 3 whole eggs every morning, cooked gently in extra virgin olive oil. At his 12-week follow-up appointment, he stood up from the chair in my office without using his hands. He paused, looked at me, and sat back down just to do it again. There was a look on his face that I will never forget. It was the look of a man who had just been reunited with a version of himself he thought was gone. Eat 2 to 3 whole eggs every morning. Cook them gently. Soft scrambled, poached, over easy, or soft boiled. High heat damages the delicate protein structures and degrades the vitamin D and choline in the yolk. Pair them with a healthy fat for maximum nutrient absorption. Olive oil is ideal. And I will say this one more time because it needs to be heard. Do not throw away the yolk. The yolk is where the medicine lives. Number 4. And we are now entering a level of nutritional power that most people have no idea exists in something this simple. Wild-caught salmon. If your legs feel heavy, if they feel swollen, if they ache at the end of the day even when you have barely moved, If there is a deep, persistent discomfort in your thighs or behind your knees that no amount of rest seems to resolve, I need you to hear what I am about to say very carefully. There is a significant clinical probability that chronic low-grade inflammation is actively consuming your muscle tissue from the inside out. And you cannot feel it happening. You cannot see it on an X-ray. It does not show up on most routine blood panels, but it is there, and it is relentless, and it is one of the primary reasons that millions of adults over 45 are losing leg strength at a rate that far exceeds what age alone can explain. After the age of approximately 45, your immune system begins to shift into a state of chronic, low-level activation. Your body produces increasing quantities of inflammatory signaling molecules called cytokines and prostaglandins. Researchers have given this phenomenon a name. They call it inflammaging, and it is now considered one of the central drivers of age-related muscle loss, joint degradation, vascular stiffness, and the progressive decline in lower body function that so many people experience and accept as simply getting old. Wild-caught salmon is one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory interventions known to nutritional science. The active compounds are EPA and DHA, two long-chain omega-3 fatty acids that are not merely good fats. They are biological signaling molecules that directly communicate with your immune system and instruct it to reduce the production of the very inflammatory compounds that are destroying your muscle tissue. A study from the University of Aberdeen followed adults over 60 for 18 weeks. Those who consumed omega-3 fatty acids at levels equivalent to approximately 3 servings of wild-caught salmon per week showed a 22% increase in the rate of muscle protein synthesis compared to the control group. 22% faster muscle rebuilding. Not from a pharmaceutical intervention. Not from a hormone injection. From eating a fish 3 times a week. But the omega-3 content is only one dimension of why salmon is essential for your legs. A single 6-ounce serving of wild-caught sockeye salmon delivers approximately 988 international units of vitamin D3. The recommended daily intake for adults over 50 is 600 to 800 IU. You exceed that target in a single meal. And vitamin D deficiency, which affects an estimated 70 to 80% of adults over 55 according to data published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology, is directly and repeatedly linked to reduced muscle mass, impaired balance, dramatically increased fall risk, and accelerated sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the clinical term for the involuntary, progressive loss of skeletal muscle that begins in midlife and accelerates sharply after 60. It is not a disease. It is a process, and it is happening right now inside the legs of almost every adult over 50 who is not actively intervening with the right nutrition. A woman, 64, a former dancer, had spent her entire life defined by the strength and grace of her legs, came in barely able to walk a full block without stopping. She told me she felt like she was living in someone else's body. We introduced wild-caught salmon 3 times per week alongside targeted changes we will discuss later in this list. Within 3 months, she was walking 2 miles without stopping. She told me she could feel her legs waking up, like they had been asleep for years and were finally coming back. Eat wild-caught salmon 2 to 3 times per week. And I must be very clear about this. Wild-caught is not a preference. It is a requirement. Farm-raised salmon has a dramatically different fatty acid profile, often containing an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio that actually promotes inflammation rather than resolving it. You would be working against yourself. Look for sockeye, coho, or king salmon. Pair it with dark leafy greens and a squeeze of lemon to enhance iron absorption and antioxidant synergy. Now, right here, between number 4 and number 3, I want to pause for a moment and speak directly to you. If anything I have said so far has been new to you, if it has challenged something you were told years ago, if it has given you a single piece of information that you wish a physician, a nutritionist, anyone had told you when you were 45 or 50 or 55, then I need you to do something right now. Hit the like button. Not for me. For the algorithm. Every like tells the system to push this video to another person who is sitting somewhere right now, rubbing their aching knees, gripping the handrail a little tighter, wondering why their legs are betraying them, and believing there is nothing they can do about it. Your like could be the reason they find this video. Your like could change someone's life today. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, this is the moment. 1 click. It costs nothing. It takes 1 second. Every week I deliver clinically grounded, evidence-based information specifically for adults who refuse to accept that decline is inevitable. The subscribe button is right there. Press it. You will not regret it. Number 3 on our countdown. And here is where we cross the line from good nutrition into something I can only describe as